How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
is the end. There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the dystopia. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the dystopia. This is the final time. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the dystopia. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the dystopia. This is the final
Hey, everyone! Welcome to Spy Stream. I hope you guys all enjoyed the little chat we had with Adam Green earlier. It was interesting for me to hear his perspective. It's just like it's interesting for me to talk to people who have kind of similar experiences to me online, even though we do different things, because you know it reminds us that we're just dealing with a bunch of NPCs online, and that's just the way it goes. And the smart people will find each other eventually. That's what we have to do. We have to create a haven for smart people, and we have to hope that the smart people will bubble up out of the swamp of NPCs that we have to deal with on a daily basis. But I really enjoyed it, and I'm also happy that we get to have a spy stream tonight because we are going inside a live organizing call with the Democratic Socialists of America. Now, can I ask everyone to mount the like button for me, please? Obviously, we have another instance where YouTube has not sent out a notification. I know that. I fucking hate YouTube. I am back in the YouTube shadow ban. We had a good month and a half where we are out of the YouTube shadow ban. My channel grew like 5,000 subscribers. When my channel is actually shown to people, people want to show up and come to it. When YouTube decides to hide my channel from everyone, then this is what happens. But that's all right, whatever. I will be doing more short videos, and I'll be breaking out of the YouTube shadow ban again because apparently I just need to do short videos where I'm staring into my phone and ranting about stuff. You prematurely push the like button. Well, is there any such thing? Is there any such thing? Yeah, it was a good run. We had a good time not being in the YouTube shadow ban, and now we're back. But that's all right because we brought some new people with us. And so I will figure out a way to break out of the YouTube shadow ban again. Whatever. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't control what YouTube does. We can't control who shows up and who doesn't. All we can control is what we can do, and that's what we're going to be doing here. And hopefully some more people come. Like, where are all these people saying we want to fight communists, we want to fight the left? Where are all these people being like, we will do whatever it takes to stop Zoran Mandami? These are the people I love. Karlyn, you don't have to worry about the socialists winning because we will do everything we can to stop Zoran Mandami. And then I'm like, oh yeah, do you want to come in and listen to how the DSA is organizing? And they're like, no, that's just too much. I'm like, okay. You know what? Whatever. We can't control any of those things. All we can control is what we're putting out into the world, and that's it. Is it anyone's first spy stream tonight? Now, Spy Stream is usually something that I do as a supporter exclusive. But we are doing it publicly tonight because every once in a while I do like to do a public spy stream just to show people what they're missing. Also, I don't think the DSA really cares if I'm streaming this. Oftentimes, like when I'm doing a supporter only spy stream, it's because we're doing an actual infiltration where if they found out I was streaming them and recording them, they'd be pretty pissed off about it. I don't actually think the DSA cares. This is actually going to be a pretty big call tonight. So we're going to do the DSA a favor. We're going to record it for posterity. We're going to broadcast it on the internet. We're going to get them a bigger audience they would have otherwise have. But I think they're actually going to have quite a few people on the call tonight. And the call that we are going to be going into is it is this one, which is literally called Fight Fascism, Build Socialism. Hang on, let me get set up here. There we go. So the call tonight is called Fight Fascism, Build... Oh, that's actually not that call. This one. That's a completely different date. How about we do this one? How about we do the July 30th one? That might make more sense. We're now 6 months into the chaos of this second Trump administration, and among the latest horrors is the passage of the one big, beautiful bill, the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in a single law in U.S. history, and a massive increase in funding for militarized immigrant detentions through ICE. This is an onslaught meant to overwhelm us and make us feel powerless, but we are not powerless when we're organized, and we're still fighting for someone we don't know. Join us for a call to learn how DSA members across the country are fighting to defend and expand the rights of trans and migrant communities, standing up against Musk's billionaire coup, and standing with workers and more. Find out what action you can take today to fight alongside us against fascism and authoritarianism for a world where we all have dignity and liberation. And that is the call we will be listening into tonight, guys. And so I hope you're all here for it. Again, let us know if it's your first spy stream in the chat. I think that would be pretty great. Now, if it is your first spy stream, just so you know, got some helpful guidelines here. Number one, we are watching a live training. I don't know what they're going to say. I don't know what they're going to do. It could be a really boring call. We don't know. It is a live training. This is not pre-recorded. It is live. We don't know if they're going to kick us out. We don't know if they're going to find out that we're streaming and cancel the whole training. We don't know if they're going to say anything interesting at all. Maybe it might be the most boring call. We had a boring spy stream just the other day, which was also a DSA call. Sometimes you hit and sometimes you miss, and that's just the way it goes. Number two, I do not do commentary over the call because this is my recording too. And so we need to be able to preserve the recording. But what I will do is I will type comments in the chat. And you are also welcome to type comments in the chat. In fact, I would love for you to offer your comments and observations about what we're seeing and stuff like that. And that would be really great. Number three, because this is a public stream, you, of course, are welcome to send in super chats if you appreciate that I'm showing you what the left talks about when they think people like us aren't listening. My dog is even getting in on this. If you appreciate the work I'm doing, I would love you to show that appreciation with a super chat. But I will not be acknowledging super chats during the meeting. I will acknowledge them at the end, and I will very much appreciate them. But if you don't see me display them on the stream during the meeting, it's because we are recording the meeting for posterity, because we are trying to help the DSA out and make sure as many people see the meeting as possible, which will be great. We got a couple newbies. We got Adam Smith, who was just here for my stream with Adam Green earlier. I appreciate you dropping by, Adam. We've got the Mad Modder here for their first spy stream. That's awesome. Welcome all newbies. If you guys have questions about what's going on as we're making our way through the spy stream, please ask them in the chat. I will either answer them or someone in the chat will answer them. And it's okay to ask total newbie questions, especially if this is your first time listening to the left, like actually listening to the left. I'm not talking about libs of TikTok or clickbait content. I'm talking about this is a real leftist meeting. This is what they do in the real world. And so if something doesn't make sense to you, if you have questions, let us know. We are happy to answer any questions. And we love it when people ask questions. And it's awesome. So we will be signing into the meeting here in just a minute, guys. Can I just show you guys something, though? Can I just have an order of can I have a point of personal privilege before we get into this meeting? I have to show you guys this. It's hilarious. Can I have a point of personal privilege just for me before we go into this? I have to show you guys. Two ladies in with the gifted memberships. Thank you, two ladies. Mitchell got one. Rebel Yell got one. Senior John, John got one. Let's see. Brooks got one and Mark got one. Congratulations to everyone who got a channel membership. I appreciate it. Yeah, I have a point of personal privilege. Do you guys want to see the latest attack on me? Yeah, show me your privilege. Oh, I'll show you. I'll show you. Don't worry about it. Do you guys want to see the latest attack on me? Do you guys want to see what my haters are complaining about now? It's so great. I'm like, my haters and the people stalking me have completely run out of material with what I'm about to show you. Okay, so as you guys know, I have recently started a nonprofit. That nonprofit is called the Center for Left-Wing Studies. It is a research and archival project where I am taking all of the primary source evidence that I've amassed over the course of several years, and I'm putting it online so that I can have many people researching it so that we can really dig in and really analyze the left, like from an academic perspective almost, to figure out how they're doing what they're doing, how they're organizing, how this evolved. In reality, not the political narrative. I want to know in reality, based on their own primary sources, based on their own propaganda. I got a bunch of stuff associated with that. You can find out more information at leftwingstudies.com. This is really not that big of a deal. It's a small little research project, and I'm hoping to get funded with a grant or finding a rich sugar daddy to fund my work for years and years and years, because this is going to take years and years and years to unpack. That's what I'm hoping for with a nonprofit, honestly. Well, of course, the queen stalker herself, poetry painter, the 500-pound shut-in who watches every single one of my streams and stalks everything I do, she's really unhappy about the fact that I've started a nonprofit. This is a Christian conservative, by the way, who claims to be anti-woke. She says, "The grift is magnificent to behold. Start a nonprofit so you can get tax-deductible donations and try to apply for grants. Get hapless volunteers to do all the work while you rake in the dough, calling it administrative costs." So you're telling me that they're upset that I started a nonprofit and that I have volunteers who want to help me with the nonprofit. And they're upset because I started the nonprofit to get tax-deductible gifts and to be able to apply for grants. Like, this is the fucking complaint now. This is the complaint. How dare Karlyn start a nonprofit where if people want to, they can volunteer to help archive stuff on the internet? How dare she? But it gets even better. It gets even better. Because Psycho Frank McCormick replied. You guys might know Frank from his constant spazzing on the internet. And the reason I say he's psychotic is we know he's off his psychiatric meds. We know he's off his psychiatric meds because Frank has tweeted multiple times that he's off his psychiatric meds. Psycho Frank responds and he goes, "This is like her 50th organization this year. She's definitely on Adderall." Well, first of all, I've never taken Adderall in my life, but no shade on people who do. I understand that some people need that. I don't really care. It's none of my business. But let's just back it up here. Their chief complaint is, I produce too much content. I have too many projects going on, which actually is true. I do have too many projects going on. And I started a nonprofit, and how dare I start yet another organization when I already reorganized my for-profit business earlier this year? Because apparently you're only allowed to start one organization a year, according to these people. I reorganized my for-profit business under Red Menace Media and Decode the Left earlier this year, so that was my one. So I'm not allowed to start another nonprofit on top of it, otherwise there's pearl clutching on the internet, and people go, how dare she actually produce content and do things that are valuable? She must be on drugs. I mean, this is the best they have. This is the caliber of hater that I have. I just had to show you guys because it was funny. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Let's get into this meeting. Let me get the Zoom up. Hang on. Let's get into the meeting. Everyone mount the like button if you would be so kind.
Recording in progress.
I spent 27 years in this factory. Now the boss man says, hey, you're not what we need. The penguins in the suits, they know nothing but greed. It's a solitary life when you've melted the feeder. But who cares about us? Now I'm back on the streets with my hands held shut. I'm a working man without any work. Well, is this the way it's meant to be? Because I signed on for the American dream. Now I write my name to the welfare scheme. The money in the bank, well, it's history. So take me down to where the worlds collide and leave me here till I'm satisfied. So let the revolution begin.
Let the revolution begin. Hey, good music this time. This is way better than the music they usually play. I don't actually even mind this song.
We can't lose our sense of dignity while the fat-faced cats step up the creek. Another disappearing neck falls up to sleep while the shirt's on our backseat refugee. So take me down to where the worlds collide and leave me here till I'm satisfied. There'll come a day when all of us will show we won't be afraid. Although we're crashing, we won't burn.
Hey, thank you. I'm going to write this down and I'm going to make note of it. I appreciate it. I don't. Adam Green uses primary sources, and we're not going to argue about this right now. If you want to be here for Spy Stream, rein it the fuck in. Adam Green uses primary sources too. He also doesn't have the ability to go back 2,000 years and find every fucking primary source from 2,000 years ago. His standard is different because he studied at different times. Now, no more fucking arguing or whining or complaining about me talking to Adam Green. That is never going to change. So just shut the fuck up and rein it in. That's not. Go ask him. That's not what we're talking about. Relax.
All right. It's about 8 p.m. I think we can go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for being here. My name's Kareem El-Rafai. You see him pronouns, and I'm a member of DSA's National Political Committee. And I'm really excited for us to have an opportunity to talk to you all about the work that DSA is doing to fight fascism in this country and build independent infrastructure so that we can take the fight to the fascists and build the left. We have a really great lineup tonight. I think you're going to really enjoy hearing from all of them. Just really quick housekeeping. The call is being recorded tonight, and captions are on in English. So if you have somebody who wanted to be here who couldn't make it, we will be sending this out with the recording and the slides afterwards. And if you need captioning, it's available in English. So you should find that on the Zoom. And then, please continue to introduce yourselves in the Zoom chat. We have over 250 people here, which is really exciting. Introduce yourselves. We want to show that everybody from across the country is here. That's the main housekeeping items. So with that, without further delay, I'm going to pass this off to one of DSA's national co-chairs, Ashik Sadiq, for some framing for us.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Kareem. Thanks to hundreds of you for joining us on this Wednesday evening. My name is Ashik Sadiq. I'm based in North Carolina, and I'm one of the national co-chairs. I've been a member of DSA for 8 years now. I joined in January 2017 when I was living in Washington, D.C. when Trump got elected for the first time, and I felt, really powerless and demoralized by everything that was happening in this country. It was clear that, the rise of fascism was being left unchecked by people who'd been in power, the Democrats before Trump, and just 8 years later, in so many ways, where we're like in this loop where the people who've been in power have enabled the rise of fascism, and they're just unprepared for this onslaught of horrors that's coming. We are just a few weeks after the passage of the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill, that is the largest upward transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in a single law in U.S. history. That includes just a horrifying increase in funding for militarized immigrant detentions and deportations through ICE. ICE now has a budget that's bigger than most military budgets in the world. And it's, it's just an onslaught of things that are meant to overwhelm us and make us feel powerless. And then now, almost 2 years into genocide in Gaza, just the level of starvation that our government is complicit in enacting is now more apparent than it's been, to many people. Like, suddenly you're hearing all these people in the political establishment who helped enable this, who supported just our government supporting these atrocities, are now admitting that, they're what a lot of us have known for many years and decades. So, what we really want to emphasize on this call is that we're not powerless when we're organized, just against this onslaught of horrors. So much good is happening in this country. Like, real power is being built by working class people who are organizing across differences of all kinds, across differences of race, ethnicity, just all these factors that the establishment, that capitalists have used to divide us and to keep us divided and powerless, including Americans from the international working class. All these threads are coming together, and DSA is at this point at the forefront of building a movement against fascism in this country. We're an organization that is powered by and for our members, pulling our resources together to punch way above our weight, to win power in all sorts of ways that nobody really saw coming, except the people who put in many years and decades of work to build this together. So, we're coming off just a month after Zoran Mamdani had this massive win in New York City as a socialist mayor-to-be in the wealthiest city in the world. I'm incredibly proud of that. Like, I'm from New York City myself. I grew up in a neighborhood that was pretty conservative when I was growing up, that now has one of the highest concentrations of Arabs and Palestinians in New York City. And that's part of the base that Zoran is building. Like, my family's from Bangladesh. Bangladeshi immigrants were a core part of the base that Zoran is helping build. And this comes up year after year of choices that were made by people in New York City DSA and people all over this country who experimented and tried out all sorts of ways to build our power together. And that's finally bearing fruit in ways that are terrifying to people who hold this power. They're throwing all these smears to viciously, try to tear us apart and, attack what we're doing, but they can't do that because we're just, we're organizing our power. So you're going to hear on this call today of how DSA members are organizing all over the country to defend and expand the rights of migrant communities, trans people, standing up against the billionaire coup that's underway, standing with workers, winning power all over the country. So yeah, without further ado, I'm just going to hand it over to Dan Denver, and then you'll hear from other comrades like Olivia Kotby. Stay tuned, like all the way until the end of the call. We're going to be closed up by Iman Abdelhadi and Aster Taylor, just to really, frame this political moment. We have so many great speakers, and we want to plug people into action throughout all of this. So watch the chat for links, and yeah, I'll just hand it off to Dan.
Hey, thank you so much, Ashik, and thank you so much to all the leadership and membership of DSA here. It's such an honor to be on this call at this very moment. I think I joined DSA, it was 2016, after Bernie Sanders' first astoundingly successful, if not entirely successful, presidential campaign. I'd been a socialist since the late 90s when I was a teenager, but I never joined a socialist organization. And frankly, I joined DSA because that's the organization that everyone was joining. It was the first time in my life where I was like, wow, all the socialists I know are joining a socialist organization. And it occurred to me, that old maxim, that it's an oxymoron to be a socialist without an organization. So I joined DSA and have been a member since. And I'm really grateful for all the leaders here and for all of you who are checking out the organization for the first time, who are considering joining. There is what Zoran's election just reminded us, there is no other organization like it, no other organization that is able to organize for socialism and confront fascism from the city level to the state level to the national level. And I mean, this is a the political situation right now is very scary, but it's also very hopeful. And I guess I want to start by talking about the scary. Obviously, as Ashik mentioned, we are facing ascendant authoritarianism and fascism, substantial qualitative differences that we're seeing with MAGA 2.0 from the first time around, real terrifying suppression of basic political and civil rights that we've always taken for granted in this country, alongside an onslaught against the social safety net, the administrative state, most spectacularly, the gutting of Medicaid in the One Big Beautiful Bill, the same bill, as Ashik mentioned, that will dramatically expand ICE detention and ICE agents. And who will be, I believe it's 10,000 new ICE agents that will be hired. Where are they going to find these people? These are going to be rank and file MAGA thugs recruited into a federal police force unlike anything we've ever seen in this country. It's unlike anything we've ever seen in this country, but it's a lot like what a lot of the world has seen under the boot of American colonialism and imperialism. The scholar Amy Césaire has a concept that I return to constantly, but it doesn't get old because it's so important. It's the concept of the colonial boomerang, the idea that the sort of illiberalism and authoritarianism of liberal American empire abroad, that ricochets back home. So imperialism is always a form of authoritarianism abroad. And now we are seeing it come back home. You can draw a direct line to the sort of civil liberties restrictions and nationalistic chauvinistic fervor of the early years of the War on Terror and see as the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq failed to achieve their purported objectives, while actually just creating more instability, more violence. You could see in the absence of a strong anti-war movement, that sentiment curdling into the sort of MAGA authoritarianism, nativism, Islamophobia that so defines far-right politics in the US today. There is a direct line from the War on Terror launched by George W. Bush and abetted by Democrats like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton to what we are seeing to get today. The same can be said very clearly of anti-immigrant and border control politics, which are ricocheting back now in the form of ICE becoming a domestic Gestapo. It's a force that has long terrorized immigrants. I mean, and alongside Customs and Border Protection, terrorized residents of borderland communities in the Southwest. That's an old story. But what we've seen since the 1990s is the metastasizing of the Border Patrol and ICE in a way that it had never existed before. And now another order of magnitude to not only terrorize immigrants, but also organizing this force of MAGA thugs to repress political dissent for all of us. Extremely terrifying. Then we see the bipartisan support for Israeli genocide, which has under Joe Biden, we now see under Trump becoming a key lever for his domestic repression. The manufactured crisis over anti-Semitism to smear pro-Palestine activists bravely and obviously correctly speaking up against the genocide, to smear them as anti-Semitic, that is now being used by Trump to attack free speech and higher education across the board, and to attempt to disappear leaders like Mahmoud Khalil from our communities. This moment is also, and I'm sorry I'm sweating so much, I'm in a very hot room. This moment is also the product of decades of neoliberalism and the incredible, it's the product of that in so many ways. But one very clear example is the explosive concentration of wealth and rise of a billionaire class in the way we've never had before, even in a highly capitalistic United States. This billionaire class which now under Trump is subjecting us to an unmediated, obvious, brazen, unapologetic form of billionaire class rule. Among that cohort of capitalist reactionaries, I mean, there's so many different ghouls we could speak of, but we see so many of these fossil capitalists, these oil and gas executives, using their positions within the Trump administration and their relationships with the Trump administration to gut what minimal infrastructure we have to transition to a green energy system, and to squeeze out every last bit of coal, gas, and oil, even as right now, if you're in the same heat wave that I am, we are cooking. The brazenness of capitalist class rule under the Trump administration is matched abroad with an unapologetic form of American empire without any sort of ideological pretenses of the sort, the justifications that we used to see during the War on Terror, whether neoconservatism or liberal interventionism. Now it's just America's in charge because might makes right. Trump doubling down on the dangerous new Cold War with China, all while subjecting the third world through this tariff regime to even more extremely unequal terms of trade. But that's the bad news. The good and also bad news is that it's clearer than ever that it's up to the American left to confront this all. We can see that the neoliberal militarists who populate the Democratic establishment, that they're simply not up to the job of defeating Trump and addressing the root causes of Trumpism, the profound economic and social crises caused by this long bipartisan legacy of neoliberalism and war. And the result of this is that the Democratic establishment is facing a profound legitimacy crisis. This is not just wishful thinking. It's very clear in the polls. It's very clear in the ordinary liberals who did not vote for Bernie showing up at Bernie and AOC anti-oligarchy tours in giant numbers. It's clear from Mahmoud Khalil's historic victory that did what Bernie's campaign always tried but failed to do, which was mobilize a giant number of non-voters understandably disaffected by the political system, inspiring them to nonetheless get involved and to vote. We can really feel right now happening something big. We're at a historic conjuncture where we on the American left have the difficult but historic task to build the power necessary to lead the fight against fascism and defeat fascism by fighting for and then building socialism. We have to organize our workplaces, our buildings, our communities. We have to look ahead to 2026 as an election that I truly believe we can make into a tidal wave for the left. That's the political forecast, I believe, is pointing to very fortuitous conditions. A Tea Party primary season, but this time the left against the Democratic establishment. But that will only happen. Those are the conditions. We don't make the conditions, but we do make history with the conditions that are given to us. And the conditions that are given to us in this coming primary, I believe are going to be very good. But we can only seize that opportunity if we build the organization and infrastructure that we need to win. And to close out, that just brings us to what you're doing here. You are here to look at, and I hope join DSA, because again, there is no such thing as a socialist who's not in a socialist organization. Socialism is organizing ourselves so we can organize the working class and then reorganize our entire system so that it works for the many and not the few. I hope you join DSA tonight, and I hope you commit yourself to a life of social and political struggle. We need everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dan. I think that really drives home the stakes of what we're doing here, that, it's daunting to know that, you know, no one's coming to save us, but it also puts a lot of strength in our own hands that, like, we have the ability to build the infrastructure to be the preeminent force here. With that, I'm going to hand it off to our next headline speaker, Olivia Katby. Olivia is the co-chair of Portland DSA and is a longtime organizer with the BDS movement. I'm really excited to hear from her tonight. Thanks, Olivia, and feel free to take it away.
Thank you so much for having me tonight. As Kareem mentioned, I am the co-chair of the Portland, Oregon chapter of DSA, best DSA chapter in my opinion, and I organize with the Palestinian-led BDS movement. And I really want to talk tonight about how those two things intersect in DSA, because I think the genocide in Palestine is, you know, the first and most urgent thing on so many people's minds right now. So much of what I do is through the lens of Palestine. It's one of the reasons I originally joined DSA. And I co-authored the convention resolution for DSA to first endorse BDS back in 2017. And I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that every day I see images coming out of Gaza that are the worst things I have ever seen. And every day I try to think about how to stop it. And as heartbroken and enraged as I am, my rage is not enough to end the genocide. We have to organize together. So the answer that I always come back to when I think about how to push everyday working people in the US towards a mass movement in support of a free Palestine is to build the Democratic Socialists of America. One thing that I have learned in working in the Palestine movement is we cannot work in issue-based silos with Palestine over here and climate over here and labor over here. Socialism unites all of these causes under the banner of class struggle. And I just want to explain how that has looked in Portland. In Portland, we just elected 4 DSA members to our 12-person city council. And that means a third of our city council is controlled by socialists. And that means something real and tangible for organizing for Palestine, because all 4 of them are unapologetic and unflinching in their support for a free Palestine. And they are able to hold that position so unflinchingly and without fear because of the organizing that Portland DSA has done over the past almost decade. In Portland, we have won some major BDS campaigns. We got our MBA team to cut ties with a sniper scope manufacturer that was providing scopes to the IDF after we had a very public campaign targeting this MBA sponsorship that they had. We contributed to Intel, which is headquartered outside of Portland, canceling their plans for a $25 billion factory expansion in Israel. That was huge. And, you know, our chapter's committed BDS work, coupled with our deep organizing in all other areas of the socialist movement, has been really important in connecting these issues. In 2020, we organized and won a ballot measure campaign that won universal preschool for the entire county, paid for by taxing the rich, and includes worker protections and increased wages for preschool teachers. Many of our members have organized unions and won union elections, and some of our members now serve in leadership of some big unions. My former co-chair, Emily, is now in leadership of the Portland Association of Teachers, and she helped lead their biggest strike ever last year. And the teachers union has come under fire for putting out a Teach Palestine curriculum, and they have not backed down. The Park Rose Educators Union here in Portland was one of the first US teachers unions to endorse BDS back in 2021, and that was led by DSA members. In 2022, Portland DSA had a ballot measure campaign for eviction protections, and now we have a Renters' Bill of Rights that we're organizing around. We literally ran fascists off our streets during the first Trump term. We stood up against federal troops that were sent into our city in 2020. And through all of this, our resiliency working group has done so much incredible mutual aid work. Because we work on all of these issues together, including Palestine as a priority issue, we have created a situation in Portland where it is not an option to consider yourself a progressive if you do not support Palestine. And we have created the situation that DSA sets the standard for what is truly considered progressive. If you're running for office, you're not going to get our endorsement, but there are other progressive endorsements, even union endorsements, that you're probably not going to get if you support Israeli genocide and occupation. And that's really important because Palestine has always been a litmus test for us, but it's becoming that way for others as well, because people know now that being pro-Palestine is aligned with all these other struggles, and they know that if you're willing to cave on the question of Palestine, there's no reason why anyone should believe you will fight for them on any other issue. I'm going to try to talk about this without crying, but I always fail. I was really moved this past winter when the Oregon Nurses Association led the largest healthcare strike in Oregon history. And these were the nurses that delivered my baby. And I was just so honored that, they had me up there as the MC of their big rally up there in my keffiyeh. And I saw so many Palestine flags and keffiyehs in that crowd with 4,000 healthcare workers on strike. And that's just something that is going to live in my heart forever. You know, we have the people who, they deliver babies for a living, some of them, and they're organizing a historic strike against this massive healthcare corporation. And in that fight, they're also making room for the babies in Gaza, whose genocide our tax dollars are funding. And DSA helped create the links for those two things. You know, we didn't do it alone, but we have helped build that intersection of all of these issues in Portland. One of the nurses who was on that picket line, she saw me speak, she saw DSA out there every day. She joined DSA, and she's now the co-chair of our Family Agenda campaign, which I'm going to drop a link to if you're interested in learning more about what we're doing to sort of reclaim the concept of family from the fascists. And this happens at every picket line and every other fight we've been a part of. You know, we were mobilizing at the city with the Parks Union and the City Workers Union against budget cuts. And it's like, okay, you're showing up, you know, about the city budget. Great, here's your Palestine flag. You know, it's not questioned anymore. It is a part of progressive politics in this city. And as much as the Zionists and the pro-genocide racists have tried to attack us and drown us out, in Portland, they have lost that battle. They continue to try, but they continue to lose. And just to wrap up, I just want to quickly share what electing pro-Palestine socialists looks like in practice with our socialists in office now. One of our DSA state senators, Farah Chaichi, sponsored a divestment bill at the state level, and we had a lot of unions signed on to that coalition to push that legislation. Our city councilors, who have been in City Hall for about 6 months, got a Chevron sponsorship dropped from a councilor forum that was hosted by the City Club. Chevron is a big BDS target. DSA chapters around the country are doing incredible work on the Stop Fueling Genocide campaign. Some of you are here tonight. I want to drop a link to join that campaign as well. But our Portland DSA city councilors just said, you know, they're not going to go to these events if they didn't drop the Chevron sponsorship. And so they did. And that's something that climate groups in Portland had been campaigning on without success for years. Councilor Mitch Green also threatened to vote against city funding for a new building for Portland State University unless PSU dropped disciplinary charges against the Palestine Solidarity Student Group. And they did. They dropped the charges. And we didn't have to ask Mitch to do that. He just knew what to do because he came out of our chapter. He was our treasurer at one point, and he knows that there's this movement behind him. And that's what we want to see. Our electeds in office are operating as a bloc who were put in office by DSA, and it's their responsibility to take DSA into office with them. And I think that is how we are going to actually change policy in this country when it comes to US support for Israel and for all of the fascist policies we're facing here in the imperial core. And if we want more Zoran Mamdanis and more Mitch Greens in office, we have to not only run people for office, but we have to build a party-like organization that does all of this deep organizing, which is then the base and the movement that is in office with these electeds. And we're bringing along labor and all of the parents who organize for universal preschool and all of the renters who are organizing around our Renters' Bill of Rights and all of the broader communities that we are embedded into. There was just a big piece written about Portland DSA in one of our local newspapers. And when we were being interviewed, the reporter said, you know, to be blunt, I've never seen an organization with so little money have so much power. And I took that as a compliment. You know, that is what it means to be a party-like organization. And that is what we are building in Portland and around the country. And that is what it will take to win.
We should have had you go last. That was I'm deeply moved. That was incredible. Thank you so much, Olivia. All right, I'm going to pass it over to our next national DSA, our other national DSA co-chair, rather, Megan Romer. Megan, take it away.
Thanks, Kareem. Making me go after Olivia it's real mom on mom violence hours. It's not fair. But thank you all so much for coming tonight. We have over 450 people on this call here to try to figure out what to do next, how to organize ourselves, what to fight for, how to fight. And what I'm going to do is make the very simple ask of you to join DSA. First, let's do a poll. We've got a poll popping up here. Are you a member of DSA? There are actually only 2 correct answers here, but if you must select no, do what you got to do. But you know, I see a lot of in the chat. I see a lot of DSA should do this. DSA should take on that. DSA should do this. The thing about DSA is we are the members. We make the decisions. We decide what DSA does. So if you would like DSA to do something, jump on in. We want you. We want you to bring your skills, your knowledge, the thing that you're motivated to fight against, to take down. And jumping into this organization where we have some infrastructure built and we continue to build it together, struggle together to make ourselves stronger, lets you really take on these enormous and sort of nonstop fights that we have to take on, because you know, we don't really feel like we have a choice, right? I think everybody on this call knows that sort of feeling of like, I gotta do something. Well, we can do something and we can do it together. We are stronger than the sum of our parts. You joining DSA makes DSA stronger because we're bigger, and when we're bigger, we can stop more things from happening. We can have, you know, bigger strikes, bigger street protests, bigger boycotts. We can do those things because we are more, but it also means that we are each bringing our own individual strengths, the things we know, the ways that capitalism has harmed us, right? The great Big Bill Haywood quote, I never read Marx's Capital, but I got the marks of capital all over my body. Like, I think we all feel that very deeply, whether or not you have read Marx's Capital. But bring that to your chapter, bring that to the work that we're doing. We need you. So there are links popping up in the chat. Join DSA, get in the mix, bring that DSA should energy. We don't want to quash it. We want to encourage it. We want to have you bring that to your chapter, to the national organization, and join in our huge, massive fight. And we're going to hear a bit more from some more organizers about the ways they are taking on the Trump administration and capitalism in general. And we look forward to seeing you on the picket line, at a march, at a rally, in the ballot booth, wherever we see you next.
Thank you, Megan. And yeah, so per that poll, a lot of folks here in DSA, if you are a member and you are not yet engaged in your chapter, this is a great opportunity for you to take that next step and get involved in your chapter. For the, I think like 13% of you that are not members, now is a great time to make this happen. I mean, joining DSA remains one of the best decisions that I've ever made. And it puts a lot of power into your hands, in our hands as a class. We need that independent infrastructure. Take it, join DSA right now. We'll get that link posted in the chat in just a second. All right, so with that, yeah, we want to highlight some of the great work that DSA members are doing across the country to stand up and fight back. We are going to start with our migrant rights organizing, and I'm going to pass it to Marilia. Marilia, take it away.
Thanks, Kareem. Thanks, everybody. I'm so happy to be here with so many amazing speakers and to hear about all this work that's happening in DSA. My name's Marilia, she, they pronouns. I'm in the San Diego chapter. I'm one of the co-chairs of the International Migrant Rights Working Group here in DSA. And today, so we've been doing a lot of work across the country to support chapters to build campaigns for migrant rights in their chapters. But today I'm here to talk about a campaign that we've been working on, which is the Avelo boycott campaign. So a little bit of background. In April, if you haven't heard, this super low-cost commercial passenger airline, Avelo Airlines, announced that they were going to take a $150 million contract to fly abduction flights. I'm gonna say deportation, but really they're abduction flights for ICE out of the Mesa Airport in Arizona. And then days later, the New Haven Immigrants Coalition in Connecticut launched a public campaign that came with a petition that went viral and a boycott of Avelo Airlines that was started out as like a series of pickets and protests at the airport, and just grew. So the campaign gained a lot of support locally in Connecticut, including from a lot of the New Haven City Council, and the Connecticut Attorney General also spoke out about it. And the coalition is still working to strip Avelo of state and city subsidies until it cuts the contract with ICE. So DSA leaders in Connecticut, and this is a shout out to Tate from Connecticut, helped our working group come into this work and to join this coalition that includes groups like Siembra in North Carolina, indivisible groups all over the country, cities, localities have different coalitions working on this. But we're hoping to bring more and more DSA chapters into this work. So the protests have been happening, as we've heard, steadily around the country. But what really made this campaign grow is that it goes beyond just protest, and it goes on to directly attack Avelo's pillars of support, which is what we call in like a pressure campaign, like a corporate pressure campaign. So like any public company, Avelo has these pillars that uphold the company. And if the pillars are removed, then the company falls. And so there's lots and lots of strategies that can be used to pressure Avelo. For one, meeting with lawmakers to undermine the support for the company, attacking the company's public image with protests and petitions that have gotten a lot of local news coverage that have then gone on to have national news coverage. The company's workforce, like Avelo's flight attendants, have also become kind of whistleblowers and serving as like sources for the deportation flights. There was a publication that came out on ProPublica, I think, a couple weeks ago about flight attendants talking about how horrific it was to work on these flights. So in May, DSA endorsed the national boycott, and our International Migrant Rights Working Group began building a national coordinating structure for this, with over 40 chapters across the country that have some Avelo presence in their cities. And and also going to drop the link in here to join if you're in a DSA chapter to join the campaign if you're interested, and also our International Migrant Rights Working Group. But wanted to announce that there was a big win. Avelo just announced 2 weeks ago that it's going to be ending all the West Coast flights, which is amazing for a few months on this campaign. And that's about 20% of the destinations across its whole flight path, which is really amazing and a direct result of the organizing that's been happening in Eureka, Salem, Burbank, and across the West Coast with DSA leaders as part of the coalition. So we've got a lot more work to do to make sure that Avelo drops its contract, but this is a really, really positive step in the campaign. So now I'm going to pass it to Brenna from Humboldt DSA, who was instrumental to the win, to having Avelo pull out of the West Coast. And they're an organizing committee. They're not even a chapter yet, which is amazing. So they're doing incredible work. So take it away, Brenna. Love to hear from you.
Thanks, Marilia. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Brenna, she, her. I'm zooming in from rural Northern California on the beautiful Emerald Triangle, Redwood Coast, Humboldt DSA. Shout out to my comrades in the house tonight. It's pretty amazing to be here on this call, to be perfectly honest with you. I feel like I'm sharing this space with some real luminaries and extremely accomplished people. And I guess I'm here to represent the nobodies in the room who are just trying to figure out how the F can I make a difference against this fascist nightmare that we are living in right now. A few months ago, locally, a very small group of us socialists started hanging out with each other and talking about how can we start a DSA presence here in our rural county in Northern California. And, you know, we didn't know what we were doing. Frankly, in a lot of ways, we still don't. But what we did know is that it wasn't okay to sit on the sidelines in this moment. We knew that this is fascism, and we have a responsibility as people of conscience to step up and to put our all into doing our part to fight against this horror that we're currently living through. So we started to organize, and we became what's called a pre-OC, not a chapter yet, not even an organizing committee yet. And as a pre-OC, one of our members, who happens to be on the Eureka City Council, G. Mario Fernandez, shout out to you, Mario, was monitoring the horrors that were going on with this ICE persecution of our neighbors who are Black and brown. California has really been targeted, especially Southern California, by this very cruel administration. And it's been extremely painful for those of us who care deeply about this community, but are, physically removed from the incredible organizing work being done by LA DSA, San Diego, the other chapters in the southern part of the state, the rapid response networks. We wanted to pitch in somehow. So we were like, how can we get involved? Well, Mario was like, Avelo flies out of our rural, tiny little regional airport here. So he started to investigate, what kind of staff resources for the Eureka City Council were being put into flights out of using Avelo Airlines. It wasn't a huge number, frankly. It wasn't a huge dollar amount, but it was something. And it was something, concrete we could organize around. So that's what we started to do. We joined the Avelo Boy campaign as our very first campaign as a pre-OC, and found immediately, through Marilia's leadership and the leadership of Tristan and the other folks on the boycott committee, they kind of mentored us and, pointed us towards like how we could get going in this work. So on June 13th, we voted as a pre-OC to go ahead and join the boycott. The Eureka City Council had a series of delays considering whether it would take up this issue. So we kept organizing and pushing for the issue to be addressed in a city council meeting. We noticed that LADSA through Burbank was doing regular picketing at its airport where Avelo flies out of. Other chapters in Eugene, Salem, and Sonoma were doing incredible work, putting the stink on Avelo's name and toxifying its brand. So we built on that solidarity. We built on those efforts. And in July 7th, we published in local media a call out asking City Council to join the boycott. And the following day, after hours of waiting, we spoke to the council, and they actually voted unanimously to join the boycott and became the first jurisdiction in the nation to do this. And then a few days later, Avelo announces, you know what, we've had enough. We're going to pull out of the West Coast. You all hate us too much. It's not profitable enough. We're not selling enough tickets. And we're choosing our contract with ICE over these, socialists on the left coast. And we were completely thrilled with that result, but we're not done yet. And we've decided to go ahead and press forward and demand that our local Board of Supervisors join the boycott because, frankly, they have a bigger budget and probably have a lot more ticket sales. And Avelo hasn't left yet. They're still flying out of our local airport until December. And we want to kill their profits. We want to drive them out. We want to drive them out faster. And we want you to join us because this is something that you can do if you're in a rural community, particularly where Avelo is targeting for tickets. You can join this boycott and just diligently do step by step. These small actions add up to make a big difference. You don't have to be a great organizer or a super accomplished anybody to make a difference against this fascist threat. So thanks for listening. And I'm just completely thrilled to be hearing what everybody else has to say on this call.
Thank you so much, Brenna and Marilia. It's really inspiring to hear what even just a small group of people who come together around, shared values can really do. It's really impressive and it's very moving. Up next, I'm going to pass it to Kate Royce, who's going to speak a little bit about some labor organizing efforts.
Hello, thank you for the introduction. And wow, that was super inspiring. I cannot believe I have to follow that. I'm Kate. I am currently in Boston, Massachusetts. I've been a DSA member since around about 2017. And I had also, like a lot of the speakers we've heard from already, like I think a lot of you tonight, thought of myself as, I'm just a rank and file member. I don't really do much. But then in February, I was fired for the first time from my job as an enforcement attorney at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. We were lucky enough to be unionized at the CFPB. We're part of NTEU 335. Other federal workers were not. And there are a lot of really big challenges facing federal workers, not just the obvious ones that we've all heard about in the last 6 months, but there's restrictions on union organizing. There's restrictions on what unions, once they're formed, can do. We don't have the right to strike, for example. And so the federal unionists movement was really fragmented, not really talking to different people across the country, and really kind of struggling to respond to the depth of the crisis that we faced. I started organizing with the federal unionists, and that's when I learned that the skills I had been building through my work in DSA in DC, in Boston, up in Hanover, New Hampshire in 2017, those had really empowered me to move the federal unionists network from a mobilizing focus to, just doing protests, and then a week later calling everyone up, do another protest, let's do another blockout, like, oh, great. To a more deep-seated organizing focus. So building the one-to-one relationships to empower every single coworker in every single federal office building across the nation. I'm now part of the Boston hub for the federal unionists. So we're working on developing ties to labor unions here. We're working really closely with the Boston DSA Labor Working Group. So I saw a couple of people from Salem in the chat. Reach out, we'd love to have you. And it really drove home for me just how much I was empowered to do, even thinking of myself as just a rank and file member of DSA. We know how to organize, not just mobilize. We know how to build the deep connections with people, to make them agree to have tough conversations, to realize that we're not just asking for your vote every now and again, but we're interested in supporting you as a person and a leader. That's something any labor movement is going to need. That's something any workers movement is going to need. And I could not have been prouder to realize that I had learned the skills to be part of it from this great organization. So I'd love to talk more about federal unionist organizing. There should be some links being dropped in the chat. But even if you don't think of yourself as like someone who's going to go out and lead a charge or make a great speech, you can make a difference. You can go out, talk to your coworkers, and organize. DSA gives you the skills to do that, and I highly encourage you to take advantage of it.
Thank you so much, Kate. And yeah, federal workers have really been on the front line of a lot of the anti-Trump work since day one. So thank you all for everything you're doing. And thanks for coming and speaking to us about this tonight. Up next, I'm going to pass it to Katie Sims from the National Electoral Committee.
Hi, yeah, my name is Katie. I am a member of the Ithaca, New York chapter, and I'm here on behalf of DSA's National Electoral Commission. So this spring, I want to, start out with a story about canvassing, like I always love to do, which is I was out canvassing for the DSA endorsed candidate to be my city council representative. And we were talking about kind of the standard socialist stuff, affordable housing, tenants' rights, and basically like sewer socialist public works initiatives. But when we would debrief the canvases afterwards, we were finding that a lot of people that we were talking to at the doors were saying like, I can't even focus on the local stuff because I'm so worried about what's going on at the federal level. I'm so distraught. I'm just like, and I'm pissed off. And we're a really small chapter in a really small city, and we were kind of like, well, what do we do with this? Our pitch is that like local stuff impacts you more or is faster or stuff like that, and that's just like not what's happening in this moment, where there's just like really rapidly advancing terrible like fascist repression. And I think it's really common in these moments where so many of us feel so small and so powerless. We don't know what to do. And in my chapter, we kind of like thought of how we were going to focus on this in two ways. The first was to draw the connections that between what we could do at the local level and what was happening at the federal level. So we have our socialists in office who've already introduced policies that have passed to expand trans rights and immigrants' rights in our city. And we have introduced a policy that would defend residents against the gutting of workers' rights in the Trump admin. And so that helps us like practically speak to those concerns. But also is that we want to make the case that we are bigger than just ourselves and just our chapters. And DSA is a really unique organization in our ability to do this because we're nationwide, because we have these chapters, because we're member-led, member-funded, we're unapologetically socialist, and we stand as a real alternative to the billionaires that buy both of the major parties. And so, and in this like really special, in this specific moment where the corporate Democratic Party is just hollowed out, the base is abandoned, them in large numbers, we can seize the moment and defeat both the corporate Democrats and the fascist Republicans. And this is where DSA's National Electoral Commission comes in. The Electoral Commission is responsible for coordinating and supporting electoral programs all across the country. Our electoral program is really chapter-led because it takes the local context in order to run these races. You can't really just like, you know, run them from afar. You can't pick a good district for the country for a city council race. You know, it's about where we are and what we can change in our communities. And but we, as the National Electoral Commission, talk about strategy. We help develop it. We train new leaders, evaluate candidates for national endorsement, and encourage chapters to take on these electoral challenges and to win, to find ways that we can win real power and change real things. And every year since, you know, 2016, Bernie's first campaign, like our electoral program has been growing and accomplishing more and more. And in this moment where we can't be on the sidelines, there are many ways to take on the Trump administration and rising fascism. But there's no way that we can sit on the sidelines, right? So if you're not a DSA member yet, you should join tonight. You should do it right now, fill out the form. Someone's going to post it in the chat again. But I know most of us here are members, and some of us still are like wondering what we're going to do and how we're going to, and still feeling this like smallness and this powerlessness. So make sure that you're getting involved in your chapter or in a national body like the Electoral Commission if you're an at-large member. If your chapter isn't challenging the do-nothing Democrats or the fascist Republicans, it's time to get started. And I really believe that every chapter has the ability to run some sort of electoral campaign or ballot measure campaign or a pressure campaign to take on the people who are in power, who aren't listening to their constituents. And so there's going to be links in the chat about how to get involved in the NEC, but also how to get the mentorship that you need to succeed in this, how to get the training that will help you launch this campaign, and apply for endorsement, which comes with fundraising support for our candidates, because the infrastructure that we need has to come from us. It has to come, and that includes the money, the tools, the people, the knowledge, the ability to pass it on, and that is what makes us like the foundation of a political party. It's that we can bring, we can change who's in power when we can change the world around us, and we're doing it. And you know, I think you want to be a part of it.
Thank you so much, Katie. And yeah, DSA's electoral program has been really impressive. And I think, you know, one of the things that we've done really well is we've started to really tie together all the aspects of our work through, you know, state power and electoral labor power, as we've been talking about, and then, you know, the street movement, street protests as well. So thank you so much, Katie, for talking about our electoral program. Up next, I'm going to pass it to our trans rights and bodily autonomy campaign leaders. We're going to hear from Saya and Lyra. Saya, take it away.
Hi, my name is Saya. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a member and co-chair of DSA North Texas and a member of the current Trans Rights and Bodily Autonomy National Steering Committee. I'm incredibly humbled and honored to be with you all on this call tonight, alongside so many incredible organizers, thinkers, and leaders fighting back against the rise of fascism at home and abroad. I joined DSA in September 2023. For years, I had watched the world burning around me, brutal and cruel oppression against trans people, both parties failing us, and felt that I had no other choice but to join an organization and start to fight back. I was idle for a bit, as new members tend to be, but a couple of months in, a comrade approached me and told me about DSA's recently passed Trans Rights and Bodily Autonomy National Priority Campaign. He also asked me if I would like to lead a local campaign. I remember saying to him, I know nothing about organizing. I've never done anything like this in my life. I'm just some random person. And he told me, you'll learn as you go. In March 2024, I organized a successful day of action for Trans Day of Visibility and got my first taste of what DSA truly had to offer for trans people in this time of crisis. Shortly after, I authored and passed a Trans Rights and Bodily Autonomy campaign proposal in my chapter. And later that year, I used DSA's in-house TURBA toolkit to successfully lobby Dallas County, a county of 2.6 million people, to pass a trans sanctuary resolution. This is the power of organizing for trans liberation in DSA. My story is one of many in this organization. All over the country, member-led trans rights and bodily autonomy campaigns have been used to build sanctuary cities, pressure hospitals to resume healthcare for trans minors, fight for safe workplaces, coordinate mutual aid, and build a network of organizers capable of fighting fascist repression. Now, as a member of the current TURBA Steering Committee, I'm extremely proud of some of the work me and my comrades have done leading this campaign and facilitating this organizing across the country, but our fight is only just beginning. After the convention in August, a new phase of DSA's Trans Rights and Bodily Autonomy Priority Campaign will begin. In spite of our successes since the campaign started, hostility towards trans and queer people is at an all-time high. The Trump admin has made it clear that their goal is to completely destroy trans people's lives, erase us from history and society. And in my own state, a new wave of anti-trans laws will go into effect in September. We must adapt, reorient, and build new strategies to stay in this fight and continue the work. As an organization of socialists, our greatest strength is our collective power, our ideas, our skills, our knowledge, and our dedication. We need you. I encourage all of you to get involved in this fight, particularly if you are a trans or non-binary person. I can speak from personal experience and say going from feeling completely disempowered and isolated to feeling the weight of my organizing and the effect it can have on our community is exhilarating and life-changing. This work has the power to turn us into not just participants, but leaders in the fight for trans liberation and for a socialist future. So join DSA, join TURBA, trans liberation now. I'm dropping the link. Thank you.
Lyra, feel free to take it away.
Yeah, that was really powerful and really great. There's nothing quite like fighting for your own liberation, which I wish we didn't have to in these circumstances, but it's time we all get organized and involved. So hi, everyone. My name is Lyra Spencer. I use she, her pronouns. I am co-chair of Chicago DSA. I've been co-chair for about a month now. And a lot like other people who've kind of had ebbs and flows in organizing, around last year, I kind of had a lull within DSA, just kind of being relatively new to Chicago. I'm originally from Detroit, and just kind of feeling demotivated by the election and everything that had happened that year. And then Trump won. And then the major factor that happened here was Trump won and did his executive order, which tried to ban gender-affirming care for minors under 19. And even though that this order was stayed, hospital systems were starting to preemptively ban gender-affirming care. And that it's a major issue for a multitude of reasons, but we all know that fascism relies on compliance, and so it uses those ways to have more power than otherwise would. And so resisting fascism and resisting these power grabs, these illegitimate and illegal power grabs, is very important. And so during this whole time, I tried, organizing with different folks. I tried getting groups together. None of it worked. And then a ban happened at a place that I worked. Rally that got a ton of press. And that rally ended up making UIC reverse its decision at the time, because we broke the news before it was even public, and they started continuing care again. Now, unfortunately, the situation in Illinois is quite dire right now. We are currently facing a chain of, just this past week, of 2 or 3 hospital systems stopping care, and about rumors of 2 more on the way. And it's very illustrative that in a state that is supposed to be, blue and democratic, that our rights are being dwindled even here. And so if it can happen here, of course it could happen anywhere in the country. And the people that are supposed to be protecting us, the Attorney General and J.B. Pritzker, who's definitely running for president, they are silent and they are doing nothing. And so that also illustrates that there desperately needs an alternative right now, and DSA is that alternative. It's a democratic organization, very easy to plug into. We have a very clear point of view. We aren't beholden to any donors or to to any billionaires, and it makes us better equipped to go after a lot of these people that are dragging their feet in this kind of fight. And so what we've done essentially since that earlier UIH protest is we have a resolution that we've drafted with our 6 elders, going through the city council right now, condemning a lot of the hospital systems that have stopped care. We have done subsequent rallies since then, and right now the campaign is really determining what its next moves are, but it seems like we're going to go after the state and state actors. And so this campaign has been one of the more successful campaigns that I've ever worked on. It's developed many, many leaders, many of which who are trans. They become active members of the chapter. I wasn't even involved in this chapter a year ago, and now I'm the co-chair through this campaign. And so what I'll leave folks with is, 1, trans rights are mass politics. This has been our most engaging campaign out of everything. And we have work all the way from, and it's not to poo-poo any other work, but we have work all the way from transit rights to different kinds of work. And this has been the most animating campaign. So it is mass politics, even though people want to make it niche, it's not. And the other thing is, it's a great way to engage everyone. I mean, there's providers, there's labor involved. Again, there's just people of the entire queer community. And so this is definitely a fight worth taking. It's not a fight that you can only do in blue states. Like Saya said, Saya's from a red state. And so it's a fight you can engage with anywhere. And so I would encourage, if you're trans, if you're queer, get involved in this kind of fight. You feel very powerful. I know this time tries to make us feel weak, but you feel very powerful when you're fighting for your own liberation. And so get involved and join DSA. Thank y'all.
Thank you both so much. And just as a quick aside, in New York City, when Langone Health tried to take away gender affirming care, DSA led a rally within just a few hours of that announcement. Hundreds of people out marching in the streets. Like, that's the kind of thing that can really give you power, and then you can tie all these aspects of our work together, make these demands through the state, through our unions, and out in the streets. Thank you both so much for coming and speaking about this. So up next, we're going to get to our next headline speaker. Iman Abdel-Hadi is a scholar, writer, and organizer. She is an assistant professor and sociologist at the University of Chicago, writes a column for In These Times magazine, and is a co-author of Everything for Everyone, an oral history of the New York Commune, 2052 to 2072, a sci-fi novel published in 2022 with Common Notions Press. Thank you so much, Iman, for being here, and take it away.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much for sticking with us. And it is so inspiring to hear all these amazing people talk about movement building. It really inspires me and gives me so much hope I'm so honored to be here. And big shout out to all the Chicago folks. I'm like, oh, we should connect. And all the other places too. Y'all are amazing. So I am Palestinian. I'm a DSA member. I've actually been a DSA member for a long time. I love to carry my card around, although I don't think we do the cards anymore, but I like to be like, I'm a card carrying socialist. I have been very active on the Palestine, in the Palestine liberation movement. And what I want to say is that, to echo what Olivia was saying earlier, we have been acting in movement silos. And for a long time in this movement, I grew up in this movement. And for a long time, our idea was if we change public opinion, right? If we change American public opinion, if we tell everyone about Palestine, if we explain what's happening in Palestine, then that's going to be enough to change public policy on Palestine. And what we have seen over the last 20 months of this horrific genocide is that we can change the entire world's opinion. We can change public opinion. Americans are for Palestine. Americans do not, like less than 30% of Americans stand with what Israel is doing. The majority of both Republicans and Democrats, according to some polls, are supportive of an arms embargo. The Democratic base is heavily, heavily, heavily pro-Palestine. And yet we have just a handful of Congress members who are willing to sign bills to block bombs to Israel. We have just a handful that are willing to call this a genocide, even when Human Rights Watch, the UN, Amnesty International, and even Israel's own human rights organizations have called it what it is, which is a genocide. What explains that gap, right, between public opinion and the reality of policy and what our electeds are doing? The explanation there is the fact that we don't have power. It's not just about public opinion. We don't live in a place where public opinion is enough, right? We know that even if you are part of the Democratic base, you are not able to change what the Democratic Party is doing. We are in this sham democracy where this Democratic Party is telling us, come protect democracy. Meanwhile, they're ignoring us. And they're not just ignoring us on Palestine. They're ignoring us on trans rights. They're ignoring us on deportations and migration. They are ignoring us on the border. They're ignoring us on every issue. They have gone against their base. They have destroyed unions. They have basically moved to the right for decades, right? And part of that is that not just do we not have access to power, we don't have access to actually influence this party. What I love about the DSA is what DSA folks always say, right? Is that the DSA is what you make it. It is a democratic organization. You can sign up, you can be a member, you can join, you can fight within the organization and turn it into whatever it is that we need it to be, right? And the other thing is that folks in the DSA are fighting for material wins, right? We have reached the limits of what moral outrage can do. We are morally outraged about Palestine. The whole world is morally outraged, but we don't have power to back up our moral outrage. And that's exactly what we need to be fighting right now. So it's only, when I look at the organizations that have been able to achieve material wins for Palestine, the DSA is the top organization that has been doing that. Olivia listed some examples. Others have listed other examples, and I think that we are seeing more and more campaigns every day. Now, I want to address something that's something that's been happening recently, which is that we're seeing, especially in the last week, the tide shift. Right now, Gaza is being starved by Israel. It is being systematically starved. There's a man-made famine that, by the way, Israeli officials declared they would do from day one, which is why we've been calling it a genocide from October 2023. And they're actualizing that promise, again, because we haven't had the power to actually stop them. What we've been seeing right now is more and more centrists and more and more world leaders and such coming out and saying, oh, the starvation has to stop. What Israel is doing is an atrocity. Oh, the left might have been right about this, right? And I want us to be, I think that, we need to be very clear as the left about what it is that you can't just offer us an alibi. Anyone is welcome to join the coalition. Transformations and change in opinion are welcome. But it can't just be about words. It has to be about material actions, right? If you are now seeing the atrocities that Israel is committing, are you joining us in boycotts? Are you joining us in divestment campaigns? Many of our states and cities are invested in Israeli bonds to the tune of millions of dollars. We saw Brad Lander pull New York City bonds from Israel in an act that was deeply heroic and inspired by the Mamdani campaign. In Illinois, we have a campaign, an Illinois Divest campaign that is, so if you're in Chicago or you're in Illinois, I really encourage you to join that campaign. So we need to be demanding that folks show up for material actions for Palestine, not just the words, just having an alibi to say, oh, I was on the right side of this thing 20 months into it. And I think DSA is well positioned because it's already been doing this work of setting what the standard is, of holding campaigns that have a material impact on Palestinians, of holding politicians accountable. Olivia really, what Olivia said earlier was so incredible to hear. And this needs to be the standard everywhere. The idea that you cannot be progressive except for Palestine. That is a phrase that should live in the dustbin of history. We should never again have anyone who claims that. And in fact, what we saw with the Mamdani campaign isn't just that he won despite of Palestine, and every mainstream media outlet painted it as a fight between him and New York Jews. Mamdani won the Jewish vote in New York. He won it. He won the Jewish vote. Not only that, it wasn't despite Palestine that he won, it was because of Palestine. We had data coming out this past week showing that people came out to vote for him specifically because he was against the genocide. Ta-Nehisi Coates put it best. He was like, if Democrats can't draw the line at a genocide, they're not going to draw the line on democracy, right? We have a winning issue. We have all the winning issues. And it's not just Palestine. The public stands with us on trans rights. The public stands with us on unions. The public stands with us against ICE. The public stands with us against capitalism. More and more young people, more and more people under 45 are against capitalism. And so now is the time to build the power to actually deliver what it is that the American public wants. And DSA can do that. And in fact, DSA is the best positioned organization in the country to do that. So if you haven't joined, I hope you join today. I hope you do it for Palestine. I hope you do it for trans rights. I hope you do it for every cause that we care about. I hope you do it for the world that we're trying to build for each other.
Thank you so much, Iman. That was similarly incredibly powerful. And I think one of the things that, about the Zoran campaign that I think we've seen that DSA has the power to do is the IMEU poll that came out yesterday showing that now 70% of New Yorkers support the Palestinian cause. 70% of New Yorkers are on board with arresting Benjamin Netanyahu. We have the power to remake public opinion. We have the ability to shape these forces. We have agency. We just need to come together to do it. So thank you so much. Really appreciated everything you had to say. Final speaker for the night. I'm very excited to introduce Astra Taylor. Astra is the co-founder of the Debt Collective and the director of documentary films such as What is Democracy, Zizek, and Examine Life. She has written for New York Times, the LA Times, the Baffler, N+1, and other outlets. She's the author of Democracy May Not Exist, But We'll Miss It When It's Gone, and co-author of Solidarity, The Past, the Present, and the Future of a world-changing idea. Thank you so much, Astra, for being here, and feel free to take it away.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. And people were complaining about following acts, and I have to follow everyone. Just so much insight, so much power in everything that's been said tonight. So I will repeat a lot of it and drive some of it home, I think. But again, just want to say I'm so grateful to be here and feel really, really inspired. To sort of paraphrase what my friend Dan Denver said at the beginning, I really believe you cannot be a socialist alone. It's a contradiction in terms. And when I'm out speaking about my books or speaking about my movies, people always ask me, what can I do to help with all the bad stuff in the world? And my response is always join something, right? That's actually the thing that you need to do. And join DSA. DSA is such a rare thing. There are a lot of nonprofit groups that are really good. Debt Collective is actually one of them, but that are dependent on philanthropy, not accountable to their members because of the way the economics of it are set up. There are a lot of groups out there that do good work, but they're not democratic. They're not accountable to their base. And so they lack the kind of clarity that DSA has. And so this makes DSA so special, so rare. Ashik opened this up by talking about the doom loop we're in, and Iman just spelled it out really well, which is basically, mainstream Democrats enabling their fascist, sometimes buddies, right? Like, let's get together and do some crypto legislation. Let's get together and do a genocide. And we need socialists to break that doom loop. We need socialists to put real solutions on the table. We need socialists to build the kind of power that can hold elected officials accountable and work with them towards progressive goals, just like Olivia so movingly put it, right? And we are, I think, indeed up against fascists. I didn't want to use that word. It's like, it's an intense word, and it is right. I just wrote a piece a couple months ago with my friend Naomi Klein, where we actually tried to lay out what we think this kind of fascism is, because history doesn't repeat, right? This is not going to be a 1-to-1 ratio with the fascists of the past. So we call them end times fascists, because there's an apocalyptic aspect to the fascism we're up against today. And it's based in material realities and some ideological, theological delusions. But these guys know climate change is real. And what they're saying is, press the gas, man. Light it on fire. Let's grab what we can, right? They're saying, yeah, war. You know what? That's good for business. Let's have more of it. And so we are up again. And they're saying, we're billionaires. We're going to build bunkers. We're going to go to Mars. We're going to go to the AI singularity or whatever it is, right? They think they're going to escape the fires they're unleashing. And so we're really in a battle with people who've given up on the future, who want to cash out and burn it all down. And this means, that there's a potentially huge coalition to be built, because we're literally fighting for life itself against these people. And when you put their ideas on the table, these are not popular ideas, right? When you actually sort of take a cold hard look at what these folks are about. So this potentially huge coalition exists, but it won't just spontaneously emerge. This is the whole argument in my book on solidarity. Is solidarity has to be organized. It has to be consciously created. We have to do the work to build it. And to go back to the Democrats, right? They've got these folks like James Carville saying, play dead, just let the Republicans somehow magically destroy themselves. We cannot do that. We have to fight for life. We have to fight for life in Appalachia, in New York City, in Gaza. We have to fight for the lives of the other species that we share this planet with, right? That's what this is about. I mean, fuck the fascists. They are absurd, and they are terrifying. But this is a perennial problem for our side. People have really touched on this in ways that I found inspiring. Like, yeah, our ideas poll pretty well. Our ideas are popular. We're not disgusting techno bros, right? We have a lot going for us. But we need power. We need organization, and we can't just say, oh, well, they have money, so we're being outspent. Like, no, we're being outmaneuvered. We're being outorganized. And so I think we have to rise to this occasion. We have to be really serious. We have to try to be really strategic. And the situation's not fair. It sucks going up against billionaires or maybe trillionaires. They operate on a political chessboard that is basically like affirmative action for Republicans. Like, we are in a rigged system, but we have to deal with that. Again, the conditions not of our choosing. We have to act. So socialists have historically been pretty good at identifying fascism, not as good at fighting it. And let's change that. Let's change history, write a different narrative. So we need strategy. We need vision of a future. That's one big advantage we have. They have no fucking vision for the future. And we also need to build a big tent. But a tent that is true to our principles. And this, I think it's just important to say, that's not a contradiction in terms. That actually, as Iman just so brilliantly said, we attract people by having principles. That's what Mamdani did with Palestine. That's what makes the tent. That's what holds it together. So coalitions do not just have to be about lowest common denominator things. And I think DSA plays such a key role in raising the bar, right? And setting those moral standards, those political standards. And I've been digging more into to End Times Fascism, because what else is there to do? And reporting on the resistance. And there are all sorts of unlikely coalitions being built in all kinds of places, in fights against detention centers. I mean, somebody was telling me reports of protests against, the horrendously named and horrendous alligator Alcatraz, and there were conservative hunters out there with pro-Palestine activists, environmentalists fighting that. There are big alliances being formed in fights against, toxic climate destroying data centers, against Tesla, against Avelo, as people have been saying here, against the closure of rural hospitals. There's lots of fights happening that we can get involved in. And, I think it's important to stay attuned to what's happening on the ground and learning from each other's struggles. And that's one thing joining a national org like the USA can do, is it can transmit some of this stuff and help us learn from each other and get stronger. We will not win every battle. As I mentioned, I co-founded the Debt Collective. We've been fighting hard for student loan abolition, free college, medical debt abolition, healthcare for all. We organized really hard against the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, right? And obviously, we put a lot into that. We weren't even able to strip away the things we were hoping we could strip away. And what I take from that is, we need to keep organizing. We need to keep building power. And being part of an organization, I think, is actually really important in those moments where you're not actually winning, where you don't have the happiest story to report. And I think we have to be honest, that's actually when we also need to be in formation and be in community. And this is tough terrain, man. The terrain, I call it the debt, death, and deportation bill, 3 Ds instead of the 3 Bs, because it's going to drive people into debt. It's actually not about the national debt, which they look going about, but the fact that, as they suppress wages and cut social services, we'll have to borrow money to live. It's about the death that will be caused by $1 trillion of cuts in Medicaid spending and in the slashing of climate protections. It's about deportation, about the massive investment in Homeland Security and ICE. This is a massive public jobs program for fascists. That's how I like to describe this bill. And we just got some heartbreaking news today that they're offering student debt relief for people who sign up to work at ICE. And in these moments, these are moments when we need each other, right? Because we need to actually be able to be outraged and to channel that indignation into solidarity and strategy. What I want to say about that bill and those jobs, though, is that the right, I think, is being really strategic in a way we just need to recognize. And first off, they see that all of these issues are connected. We've been talking about silos over and over on this call. The right does not silo issues. That's when you read Project 2025, it's all in there, right? But also, they don't just approach it as policy. If you read it, they're really clear that they want to use policy to remake personalities. So Margaret Thatcher said something I love to quote. She said, the point isn't the economics, the point is to change the soul, right? They want to engineer a society where people are more afraid, more insecure, more competitive. And so we need to resist that. We also need to put on our horizon, not just a society of economic redistribution, but of what I like to call solidarity statecraft. How could we build a society where people could see their interdependence, could see that we are connected to not just the people who share our local communities or our national communities, but the broader world. And what I'm getting at there is that, these political fights are always emotional fights. The economics are always about emotions, about a kind of, that they need to have a kind of spiritual component. And so this is actually where the article with Naomi Klein ended, was that this is we're fighting for material change, but this is a mythic battle for life. And we should tap into that. We need to feel that, I think, in our bones and help others feel that. And that's kind of where I want to end. I mean, Brenna said something about being a nobody in the room. Saya said that they were just a random person, right? And politically, we're all nobody if we're just by ourselves. It doesn't matter if we've written some books or have some online followers or whatever, I mean, I organize because I want to actually win, and to win things, I need to work with other people. But beyond that, I think part of what we need to do as organizers is like show people you're not nobody. We are actually all, we have the potential to be heroes in this really historically important moment. This is, and that we're part of a real sacred fight. Yeah, to put it in that, I mean, that's how I feel reading more and more about the contempt that our adversaries have for life on this planet. And so that's where I want to end. That's where I want to end. This is the fight for our lives. Join DSA. Since so many people on this call are members, I'm going to raise the bar. I'm going to make 2 asks for the people. If you're not a member already, sign up. If you are a member, do something that makes you uncomfortable. Organizing, I'm going to say this as an introvert. I always love it, these big mass march where like things are so bad, the introverts are out, right? Like, you know, it's do something that pushes you out of your comfort zone. There's been so many great stories about taking leadership. I think that's brilliant. And also recruit. If you're a member, commit to recruiting 3 people to join DSA. Make sure they're awesome. It's best to have a no asshole policy. Grow the ranks, find people that you want to be organizing with. So thank you so much, everyone, and I look forward to the next call.
Thank you so much, Astra. And yeah, I think she said it best. You know, the power is in our hands, and we have to do it together. There is nobody that is going to build this world for us. It takes all of us getting involved, joining DSA, joining our chapters, putting our energy and work into these fights so that we can protect our neighbors and build for our class. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to just reiterate one more time, join DSA. We need everybody on board. We need the resources to fund our organization. You know, member dues are what makes this possible. We need the member hours to build our campaigns. Volunteer labor is what drives this organization forward. And we need our members to drive every single aspect of this, whether it's labor, in the street, at the ballot box. You have a place here. This is your organization. Please join us and shape it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And yeah, we're going to fight the fucking fascists. So we'll see you soon and hope to see you at one of our next calls. Thanks, everyone.
United Campus Workers of Georgia 3265, bitch.
Okay, we're out. We're done. All right. Well, I have some things to say. I never thought I'd ban so many people on a spy stream for just being ridiculous, but here we are. Here we are. I thought that was actually a great call. I thought that was a really interesting call. We got some great stuff out of it. They're really going on like hard on this ICE or MAGA thugs thing, and they're all pissed off about that. I thought the woman from the Portland DSA was really interesting. She talked about how 1/3 of the city council in Portland are socialists. They were talking a lot about, you know, getting a Chevron deal taken away, which is part of the boycotting that they're doing. I thought that one of the ones that was really interesting. Thank you, Suzanne, for that, and also thank you, 2 ladies, for sending in this chat earlier. Remember, we're all here to listen and learn what they're doing and saying. Stay focused and listen because we can learn valuable lessons. See, that is the point. That is the point. The point is always and forever listening. Let me just put up my Substack while I'm kind of going through my notes from the call. We're doing a little debrief now. And guys, you can always head over to my Substack. It's Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. If you appreciate the work I'm doing, showing you this type of content that no one else on the internet is covering, please feel free to support it with a membership of $8 a month, $80 a year. My work is funded completely independently. I have no political masters. My only job is to show up and tell you the truth. Thank you, Kona. I do appreciate it. So fund the work. Send a super chat. Fund the Substack. This is how I'm able to do this, and I don't have anyone I need to answer to or any narrative I need to sell. Let me see. They're talking a lot about that Avelo Airlines boycott, which apparently they had success with, which means they're just going to end up doing more of that. I thought that was really interesting. You know what? The most interesting one was the federal unionist movement woman. I mean, that was actually kind of overt and crazy. And that also directly, supports my hypothesis, which is I think there need to be congressional hearings into the organizing activities of the unions. And so that was actually a really great clip. I'm excited we got that one. The trans rights one could have been so much more interesting. I thought Imam Abdel Hardy basically said what I kind of figured she would say. But overall, I thought that was a really good call. I thought that was a great spy stream for beginners. Now, I just want to have a little conversation, though. Because, and again, I feel like I'm probably preaching to the choir at this point, and I understand there are new people here, and, new people are always going to new people, and I understand that. But I need to really start begging people, You've got to stop shitposting on this stuff. You really do. First of all, you drive me insane because it makes me think that you're not actually paying attention. Secondly, you drive most of my audience insane because my regulars are so like sensitive to shitposting because we see so much of it. We get so much of it. It's annoying. I know you don't mean it that way. I know you're doing the typical dunking on the libs thing. I get it. This is what you do everywhere else on the internet. And so I understand it. I'm not angry. I'm just letting people know that when you're constantly shitposting and making comments about looks and being like, why do they have crazy eyes? Why are they all women? They look funny. I don't like it. I bet they smell bad. It's like, you got to understand, we are so fucking over this. We see it all the time. And what we see over and over and over and over and over again is that the people who focus all their time doing that, they're not listening to what's going on. We know this. We've been doing this a long time. Now, I don't want to go this far. I don't want to go this far. Listen, some people are just new and we have to kind of teach them what it's like to be in our community. I'm trying to be really nice here, guys. I really am. But like, you really got to understand, this is not like every other place on the internet. So I understand why people who are new might come in and shitpost. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm just telling you that it drives us insane because we get so much of it and it's so distracting with how insane it drives us. And I promise you, when you guys watch my content for a little while, like if you come to Socialism Saturday, some people have been watching socialism with me for over 4 years. There are people who've been here almost every day for a long ass time. Some of you will become those people, some of you won't. But I promise you, if you spend enough time on my channel watching socialism with us, you're going to get just as pissed off at all the new people who come in going, why do they look stupid? Why are there so many women? These are Democrats. You don't understand. Nazis are socialists. It's just like, shut the fuck up. Honestly, that's how it feels. Shut the fuck up. That's how it feels. Okay? So it's not a personal thing. If I timed you out, like, I'm not mad at you. You can come back, but like, please, please, please just rein it in. We are putting ourselves on the line enough watching so much socialism. I have very literally driven myself insane watching over 5,000 hours of the far left in the past 5 years. I can only take so much. I can only take so much. I'm an Aries woman with a Leo moon and Pluto in my first house. Do not test me. You will find out what happens. Do not make me come back there. God, I've turned to my fucking mother. Two ladies, it is hard to deal with the heavy distractions. Yes, it is hard to deal with it. You guys will understand when you've been around longer. Keep preaching. You knocked that part of my yeah. I appreciate that, Suzanne. Thank you. Dragon Ball. So it's the conservative country club versus the nobodies who just feel a sense of belonging. Who would like a disaffected citizen to join? Karlyn is more patient than I am. Well done today. Yeah, bro, like we are so fucked. We are so fucked. We are so fucked. It's not even funny. What did Misa can say? They look stupid, but it's normal when Protestants talk in tongues and dance around like Africans. You just got in trouble with like every possible community. You know that, right? Yeah, okay. Yep. Mizakan, sharing wisdom. Sharing wisdom. Hang on, I'm posting this on Twitter later. Let me see. Yes, yes. Thank you. This is excellent. Example of what not to say. The left hates white people. Exactly. Thank you. See, we have standards here, guys. We have standards. that I expect everyone to abide by. Thank you, Kazmar. I appreciate you. All right. Let me go through some chats that I got. I did bookmark a bunch of stuff. Let me see. Let me see. Karlyn, the Center for Left-Wing Studies is the best unintentional path, as I'm sure this path was not in the cards for you. Best happy accident. Yeah, I'm pretty happy about it, honestly. It's going to allow me to do projects that I've been wanting to do for a long time and that I've had on the list and that I've kind of been tinkering with. So that's good. Do I still love the Groypers? No, I don't. No, I'm over it. And you know what? I don't even believe the Groypers do love me based on this chat, because I had to permanently ban this guy during the stream because he was disrespecting my wishes over and over and over and over and over again. So you know what? If you actually love someone, you don't disrupt their content on the internet to cause problems, to create drama. No, I'm done. I'm fucking retired. Now listen, there's a number of Groypers that I have a great personal affinity towards. I don't mean them any disrespect. I certainly don't mean Nick disrespect. I love and adore Nick. This is not a Nick problem. I am not crashing out on Nick. I'm not denouncing Nick. I'm not doing any of that. I fully support Nick. I have sent Nick a lot of fucking money in those super chats, so I don't want to hear it. But like, I'm sick of the shit from Groypers. I'm going to talk to Adam Green and I'm going to be friends with Adam Green. And if you guys don't like it, I don't really care. I like Adam Green's content and you are not the boss of me, Groypers. I am old enough to be some of your fucking mothers. You don't tell me what to do. You don't tell me who to be friends with on the internet. I will retweet whoever the fuck I want and you don't get to have a say. And if you can't deal with that, I'm not running around telling you guys to give up Christianity. I'm not running around trying to deconvert you. I'm not trying to get you out of Catholicism. I don't give a fuck what you do. But you guys are constantly on my ass. It's annoying. I don't want to deal with it anymore. I am retired. And if you want to change that, then actually just act like normal human beings and not invade my comments every fuck off time I say something you don't like on the internet, even if that thing has nothing to do with Nick himself. If I was actually attacking Nick, or I was going off about Nick, I could understand that. That's inviting attack from the Groypers. I would never attack Nick for that reason alone. But the fact is, you guys are going after me and causing my replies to be mucked up with bullshit because you don't like someone I retweet on the internet. I have no allegiance to you. So if you really want to be cool, then just fucking be cool and stop being dicks in my replies. I am not asking too much. The bar is not too high. That's what I have to say about that. Did I consider recording all these on another computer? That's like twice the work, bro. And you know, it was something we were playing around with at the beginning. It's twice the work. It's way easier to do it. And I don't want to be doing commentary over the meeting because I want to be listening to the meeting. And you shouldn't want me to do commentary over the meeting because you should want to listen to the meeting too. So I have my setup the way I have the setup. It's what we're going to do. First time here, what is their definition of capitalism? So their definition of capitalism is private property ownership. By private property ownership, they mean your ability to own a home, your ability to own land, your ability to own an apartment rental that you rent out as a landlord, your ability to own intellectual property, your ability to own a private business, whether that private business is big or small. Your parental rights are also considered to be a form of private property ownership because it allows for generational wealth to be passed down from parent to child to keep it exclusive within the family rather than available to all. All of these are forms of bourgeois property or property that you can use to create privatized personal wealth. They are not the same as personal property, which means things like your home, not your home, your car or your phone or your computer, things like that. So when we're talking about capitalism being private property ownership, it's a specific reference to bourgeois private property you can use to amass significant amounts of individual privatized wealth that is outside the control of the collective. That's what they mean. So it has nothing to do. A lot of people think that capitalism is an economic model. Capitalism is not. It's an economic and a cultural model. It's two different things. I go more in depth into this in my work on my Substack. You can find articles about it over there. You can find videos about it on the channel. But when we're talking about this question was asked because this person's like a right winger. When people who are, sympathetic to, the Nazis and stuff like that, when they come over here, they don't realize that their definition of capitalism is different than the left's definition of capitalism. The Nazis and the National Socialists did not want to abolish private property. They were giving away homes to people for having kids. They did not want to abolish private property. It wasn't the same thing. Hitler was not making the same critique of capitalism as the left is making of capitalism because they don't define it in the same way. You have to understand that. You're talking about two different things. Why are most of the speakers women? They're not. They're not. Let me see. I don't know. Why don't you go ask him? Why don't you go? He is the King of Wands. He is in charge. Why don't you go ask him? Watch the Adam Green segment earlier. Yeah, I was happy to have Adam on earlier. And yeah, I thought it was a good stream. All right. Did everyone enjoy my go off on the gripers? I wasn't watching the chat when I did it. I felt like I was in a full zone with that go off on the gripers, though. Did you guys appreciate that? All right. Well, that's all we have for today, guys. Again, if you want to support my work, head over to the Substack. That is Karlyn, Karlyn. Yeah, Algoth will be summoned. Well, he ain't doing nothing to make me mad right now, except, you know, except saying he's going to convert to Christianity to get it because he's pissed off I'm listening to a Twitter space or something. Whatever. I don't even have anything to say about that. Anyway, I'm done. I'll be back tomorrow. What is tomorrow? Is tomorrow Thursday? Dang. Dang. Oh, yeah? Well, when you announce your departure, you get permanently banned. So, bye. Why do people do this shit? It's like, excuse me, can I talk to the manager and let them know I'm Oh, this person thinks we're they think they're that's fucking perfect. What a fucking moron. Okay, that is like the perfect note to end on. That's perfect. Loser thinks we're communists. Loser thinks we're communists. What a fucking retard. I hate the internet. The internet's so stupid, except the internet allows me to do things I wouldn't be able to do otherwise, and so that's pretty great, but yeah. Why is my oh, there we go. Okay, we're back. We're back just as I'm leaving. All right. Thank you, retard, for announcing your departure. Bye. I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Have a good one. We'll see you soon.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.